We've got Sam Telfer on the line. He is the Shadow Minister for Regional Population Growth, something that excites us both, Sam.
Absolutely, and the opportunities are massive. Good to talk.
Yeah, look, the Regional Australia Institute put something out on Thursday I thought we'd catch up with you about, because whilst it's national data, what it tells us is that South Australia's growth rate is particularly strong compared to other parts of the nation.
Yeah, it is interesting reading, and the discussions that we've been having previously around the opportunities that we have in our regional parts of South Australia are massive, especially in this post-COVID time. I think during COVID-19 and all the challenges that came along with that, people realised that lifestyle and the opportunities in regional areas are a real advantage. And the numbers that we've seen come out of this study are certainly encouraging for those of us who want to see a more of a decentralised population when it comes to South Australia.
Now, I know this data, we go drilling into it looking for the detail, because when they say regional, they also mean the Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast, which is a bit of a bugbear of mine. But it does seem like people are heading to the regions looking for work because there's great job opportunities.
Yeah, there is. And the opportunity, as I said, for people to have a different lifestyle, still get paid very well in the roles that they've got, but to live a more balanced life. I think that's what's been drawing people out of the capital cities and into regional centres. And a few of the ones which I've picked up from this data from the Regional Australia Institute, in particular, it talks about Mount Gambier, Whyalla, Port Lincoln, three pretty significant centres, but it's also the region around that. It really does highlight to me the opportunity we have with, it's a 15% average higher migration from capital cities to regional areas than the 2 years before the pandemic. So the pandemic really has enabled people to have a look at their lifestyle and the opportunities that there are outside the capital centres.
Well, two of the standouts they mention here, when they say Mount Gambier, they actually mean also the Fleurieu and Murray Mallee, where they say job vacancies. It's one of the top four, and in fact second only to Ballarat and Central Highlands in Victoria in terms of job vacancy growth. And Port Augusta Eyre Peninsula also the third highest in job vacancy growth. What's that meaning on the ground, though, for local communities that there's so many jobs going unfilled at the moment?
Well, it is what we've been discussing, as I said, in the last few months in particular, because there are jobs, there are well-paying jobs, there are jobs in all sorts of sectors that are being unfilled. The businesses I talk to around my electorate and around the state really are saying that most could put on, if not one, then plenty of other employees, and the opportunity for their business growth at the moment is probably being hampered by the lack of opportunity as far as their skills go. So that's why I think that the challenge is real for us as a state, and we should not miss the opportunity. We need to make sure that we as a state are investing in our areas outside our capital centre, and especially in areas which enable population. So it's making sure that the health system in our regional areas is robust and able to support a growing population. It's making sure that the roads and the infrastructure are up to scratch for the ongoing business needs. The education, and most prominently, and one that's probably most high on my mind at the moment, is the housing. If we've got an influx of people coming from capital centres into regional areas, the housing stock has been absorbed very quickly, the existing housing stock. So we, as decision makers here in State Parliament, really need to have a mind to what are the incentives or opportunities that we can have to put programs in place to encourage investment into housing, and what role does the state government have directly in that?
And you mentioned housing. That is one factor in work-life balance for workers, but I noticed that Flinders University earlier this week pointed out that work-life balance is a key problem according to their research for GPs, and they said particularly in regional areas, the amount of hours GPs are working is north of 70 hours a week, particularly in regional areas because there's so much demand on them. How do we make this a better patch? I know GPs get paid well, but even so, how do we make it more attractive for doctors to be attracted to regional areas?
Yeah, lifestyle is a massive consideration with professionals, and especially our medical professionals. And the model which has been in place for the last few decades, and in a lot of our regional areas, it's the GP that works all day and is on call all night, and that generation is getting to the point of retiring, and the generations of doctors coming through now are trying to get that balance between work and life better. So that's why the system really needs to reflect what the clinicians' needs are, and have a system in place that will actually have support for GPs amongst a network within regions, and making sure that there isn't the need for a GP to be on call all the time servicing different regional centres. And also I think the support structures within regions for GPs in different towns. So to make sure that if there's a GP in Streaky Bay, for instance, that there's enough support mechanisms in place for them to get that balance right, and that support can be either delivered from towns or centres nearby, but also the health department as a whole. We need to have a look at innovative ways to make sure that our doctors don't burn out, and we've got a sustainable health system in regional South Australia.
Good point. The Shadow Minister for Regional Population Growth, also the member for Flinders, Sam Telfer. Thanks for joining us today on Flow.
Absolutely, always a pleasure.